We wouldn't survive the ghettos if there weren't church, if there weren't God, if there weren't a chance to believe that there was something else that was going to possibly be around the corner waiting to help us through that next week. So, my family, like so many other Black families, went to church, and that's where, you made it through Sunday night to the next Saturday morning, to the Saturday night to Sunday morning, So, my family was doing all the things that they wanted to do, but yet that's what the church is for people to be coming to, it's the hospital.
No matter where you come from or what challenges you face, remember that you have the power to transform your life. We're bringing you the most inspiring stories and voices from authors who are indeed powerful forces for the culture in their work. These interviews will keep you believing in yourself, inspire you to keep pushing forward, and most importantly, never ever stop dreaming. It's your boy, Uncle Kolby, and this is the Kolby Kulture Show. So let's jump right into it. Folks, I'm talking to the amazing powerhouse Terrell Carter. First, welcome to the Kolby Kulture Show. We're doing this a little different tonight, but sometimes you got to pivot. You got to be willing to pivot, right? Yeah. And so thank you for joining me on tonight's episode. So you guys have seen Terrell on Empire. You've seen him on USA Network's Shooter. He's graced the big screen in hits like Tyler Perry's Diary of a Mad Black Woman and Think Like a Man Too. And now he's here on the Kolby Kulture Show. And so I'm super excited to have him and to really talk about his new book, Problem Child. I was telling him earlier that I stayed up to like 3 a.m. reading the book. I got the book on, I think Monday or Tuesday. I got the book on Monday. And it's a page turner. So let's talk about your book.
Yes.
It is a deeply personal story. So why do you feel that now is the right time to share your story with the world?
Well, my story, of course, has been with me all my life. And it was a story that for so many years I was just embarrassed about. And I realized, just living and learning and meeting people and going across the world and across the country, that we all got our stuff.
Yeah.
We all got our stuff. We all got our stories and our own personal families, and it's just as important no matter what. A lot of times people will say, oh wow, yours is so much greater than mine, but it's not. It's so important. And I thought, I had to deal with this, because there's more than just a reason for me to go through that stuff. Yeah. I went through this so that someone else could be blessed to hear that you can come out of it. And when I realized that, and I decided to go ahead and tell my story and be free from not wanting anybody to know, I realized how many people that it blessed across the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us about it. So for those that have not read Problem Child, we're talking tonight again with Terrell Carter, the author of Problem Child, based on a true story. Tell us about it. What can readers expect once they grab this book?
Well, my story is, Problem Child is about myself and my mother, but it's basically about my mother. And my mom was 11 years old when she had me. She was molested and she has one leg amputated at birth. And her organs didn't fully develop. And we were, kind of thrust into a family. They were thrust into a family that they didn't, without giving away the whole story, they were thrust into a family where they thought things would be better, and it seems like everything started going downhill. But it really talked about this broken vessel who was my mom, who turned out to be the star of the show.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Hopefully, we won't give away too much, but like I said, it's fresh in my mind. It was a page turner. I was absolutely amazed at the resilience that has been displayed in regards to just your story and how you've been able to thrive amidst such dysfunction. And like you said, it's not an isolated situation. It's not like you're the only one that has gone through certain things, but I am sure that once readers get their hands on this book, some things that maybe have transpired in folks' lives, it's going to be like, okay, I went through this because of X, Y, and Z. And it has gotten me to this place. And so, let's talk about the role of the church in your story. I was amazed to hear about, even in this such dysfunction, and we're going to call it that because you referenced it as dysfunction in your book. even amidst such dysfunction in your family, there was still this realization that, hey, I still need to be in church, or I still want to go to church for whatever reason. So let's talk a little bit about the role that the church played in your upbringing. How did your experiences with the church influence you mentally, spiritually, and now as you are full into your career?
Well, I think that within dysfunction is where God can start working.
That's good.
When there's no one else to get the glory but him. And so within the dysfunction of my family, we were put in the situation and there was nothing else. You had to have hope, and hope comes with hope and faith. And, and a lot of families, we wouldn't survive the ghettos if there weren't church, if there weren't God, if there weren't a chance to believe that there was something else that was going to possibly be around the corner waiting to help us through that next week. So, my family, like so many other Black families, went to church, and that's where, you made it through Sunday night to the next Saturday morning, to the Saturday night to Sunday morning, So, my family was doing all the things that they wanted to do, but yet that's what the church is for people to be coming to, it's the hospital, so to speak. Yeah. So, they always realized that no matter what they were going through, they needed to at least be there, and so even if it was a tradition, it was somehow in the plan of God to be, what it was, to keep me kind of there, to introduce the singing, to introduce the relationship, to introduce, there's this God conscience that no matter what I go through, no matter what we do, there's something that still kind of is deep down inside you that's saying, don't go that far. If you're out there doing that, don't stay out there too long, So it influenced my family. It influenced me. It influenced a lot of us. It influences me today. There's a lot of stuff that, that I've gone through with my life because of the way that I was born, and because of the fact that I was kind of just thrust out into the world to go figure it out for myself. Okay. And so, you're out there. Get yourself into all kind of stuff, but you always have that God conscience that's like, yeah, but you can't do that. Yeah, you can't be with that one. Yeah, you can't stay there too long. Oh, you got to figure that out.
Yeah. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about your some characters that you wrote about in your family. So I want to start with your granny, right? And I guess she was your great grandmother.
Yes, Granny downstairs.
Yeah. So let's talk about her. There's a point in the story that you talk about this is at her funeral, actually. And you get up and you sing at her funeral. You're not on the program for whatever reason, but you sing at her funeral, and the house is essentially a wreck. Like, the church is a wreck. Like, people are experiencing various types of emotions. The spirit is high. And you talk about this walk back down the aisle, right? And it was then that you realized that your gift would impact the world. Tell us about what you felt in that moment, and how has it influenced your path?
Well, I not comparing myself, of course, to Jesus, but the idea was there of how Jesus born to Mary and that all that situation, and this man with all of that to come in to save the world. You're born in a manger. You're born like you poor, like, so no, you would think that this is the person that everybody's going to welcome, So for me, I felt like, God opened the door for me to be where I am, and to have, this situation with my mom being 11 years old and one leg amputated at birth, and she's raped, by my dad, and, he's from the same family, all of that happening, and he's 26 and normal. And she's like mentally retarded at the time. I know they don't use that word no more, but that's what it was at the time. And then I come out to be this man, and singing was always just there for me. And no one else in my family sang. Like, no one sings in my family. So it was just something that I always, I could hear on the radio, and I would hear Stevie Wonder and the Clark sisters and people like that, and think, I was like, I'm going to sing like that. I'm going to do that. I thought as a kid that everyone sang like that. So I was like, it never occurred to me that I had a gift until, people in my family that like Charles and all of the other people that were at the funeral that were just so down on us and so, so against each other and fighting and everything. And I saw how just in that room full of people who were so, so against each other, and so, that how they had no choice but to feel what it was that was flowing through me at the time, you know. And I remember it blew my mind. It blew my mind because I didn't know anything about the Holy Ghost, and I didn't know anything about, you know, what God was doing things for me that he still does. You know, and that's why I think there's no deserving in my case. There's no deserving. There's no, you know, coincidence. There's no other explanation but that, you know, because I wasn't even there. My mind wasn't there. I was just thinking, I'm just going to go and I'm going to sing here because, you know, the pastor is the one who really pretty much asked, because I was singing all over the city in different places, but I had never, you know, at home, it was like a nuisance to them. And then when that happened, I realized then, you know, these people I'm nothing like these people. None of them. You know, I don't understand. Like, I don't need to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And I knew then, you know, and I knew as well as when it happened just as well with the lady that Sweetie Pie, the lady that gave me the money.
We'll talk about,
you know,
Sweetie Pie.
they'll read all of this. I don't want to tell them, but the idea of it happening at the same time for me as it did to me, that it was time to go. Yeah. You know, and that was time for me to leave these people. And you know, unfortunately, I've never seen any of them again, really. I've seen them, but I've never dealt with them again. And they're all dead now, you know, everyone.
Wow. Wow. So let's talk about your mother, Candy, right? So Candy's your biological, I'm sorry, I'm giving away some of the story, but
the thing is, it'll still be a magnificent story once you
listen. And folks, I'm telling you, this is an amazing, amazing book. And I'm not just saying that because he's a guest on my show, but it really is. It like really awakens some things within me. And it's, there's some things that I can relate to in regards to his story as well. And so absolutely a page turner. So make sure that you guys grab Terrell Carter's book, Problem Child. But let's talk about your mother, Candy. You mentioned that she had, you know, special needs, born with special needs, organs not fully developed, leg amputated at birth. And then talk about your mama, who was actually your grandmother, Candy's mom, right?
Yeah.
The one that you refer to as mama. And so they both have very profound impacts on your life. And I thought that one of the last conversations that you shared, and I made note of it, one of the last conversations that you share in your book, in spite, you know, of all of the challenges that Candy had, and her ability to not really, as you stated in the book, really process information fully. Yeah. The fact that she was able to give you these words as you were preparing to make that transition to Detroit, to me, spoke volumes. And so she says, there is more for you than what's here. She said, the rest of us, we going to be doing this shit forever, and that's it. So there was some sort of realization that this was not the place that you belonged.
Right.
And that was so profound. And so can you talk about like how you navigated both those relationships with Candy, your biological mother, and then your mama, who was essentially your grandmother? Talk about how you navigated those complex relationships and the emotions that you experienced.
Well, I navigated those relationships very carefully. Candy was, remember, only 11 years older than me, but yet she was only mentally like, you know, about 9 or 10 all the time, or 5, you know, just, you know, it was always around that. I mean, as she got older, don't get me wrong, she knew what was going on. She was always still there. It wasn't like someone who was just kind of spaced out. It was like a regular person, just really young. And but sometimes she would shock me with the things she said and did, and she always knew kind of what's going on, and then it would just be like out of nowhere she would say things. So when she said that to me, I was on the porch and she was coming back in her little van, and they were like, she would go to her little special things that they would have for her, and she was just like, you know, whatever it is that you get ready to do, like, if you stay here, you're gonna die. And when she said that, I could see it spiritually as more than physically, you know, but she was just like, you just different than us. And at first I thought to myself, well, damn, you know, what do you mean by that? But I always knew, you know, there was something different about me. You know, it shocked me because I did an interview recently where a lady asked me, she says, with your mom being like that, you know, how was that the process? I said, that wasn't the thing. You know, either I would have been, you know, special needs like her or handicapped or like her, but when I wasn't okay that I wasn't. But what shocked me is that I was nothing like the rest of the people either.
Wow.
Like I was nothing like that.
Yeah.
So I just didn't understand where that all came from. If I came from this, which you would expect me to have, you know, this negative physical situation that could have happened. And then, you know, I'm kind of surpassed this side over here in so many different ways. You know, it just honestly, it just was that. You know, I had traveled the world here before I had ever left home.
Yeah.
So everybody gave me advice. It was like, how can you give me advice? You've never left the walls of Buffalo. You know, and it's no surprise that I'm where I am today, because just think, you know, there's so many people that want to act and stuff, you know, and do different things. But I left there in that situation to come do what I do. And this is what really happened. You know, it's like, you know, and I'm not a religious person anymore. I was just spiritual. Let me just get that straight, especially throughout the whole times of going to church and man-made everything. That's not my thing anymore.
Yeah.
100%. I am 100% a spiritual man who understands the God and what he is, and the fact of the sides of it that we have no idea about. You know, that's just what I believe is. And instead of trying to give you a idea of what I think he is and tell you that this is what you should live by, I'm going to say there's just too much that I have no idea.
Exactly.
There's no explanation for me, you know, and I'm less prejudiced against people. I'm less prejudiced against myself this way. And it's not me trying to figure out ways to say, okay, now I'm okay doing that. No, it's just the fact that the God that I believe in, for me, I can't condemn my people and myself, and this was hell. And I don't understand. I can't do that. So anyway, I say that to say, you know, I dealt with my grandmother, because she was like our mother. Candy was like my little sister instead of my mom, you know. So my grandmother was more like our mother. And my mom was just like my little sister. I remember it clearly when we had this argument about a coloring book. And I remember looking, and she said something about the crayons and some other stuff. And I remember thinking, I'm smarter than her. I remember how it broke my heart. I was thinking, wow, I am smarter than her. I can't treat her badly. I got to protect her. Yeah. She's my mother, but it's like she's younger than me in my mind. You know, I remember it happening, you know, and it's unfortunate because sometimes I had other family members that didn't like the fact that I told it this way, but this is my truth. This was what happened to me. This is how I saw it. This is how it was to me. You know, some of my other family members, it didn't happen this way. So they were like, you know, are you saying this? Are you telling this about mom? You know, and this, yeah, well, this is exactly how it happened.
Yeah.
You know?
Listen, folks, I'm telling you, you got to get your hands on this book. The first part of the book will literally blow your mind when you talk about your just even Candy's life, but you deal with Candy a lot in the earlier part of the book and just her story and some of the experiences that she had. Her heart like literally broke for her as I was reading some of the experiences. And so, folks, you got to get your hands on this book. It will shed light to so many different things. I want to move from talking about the women in your life to talking about the men in your life. So there was a lot of strain there with the male relationships in your life. And if I have to be honest, you talked about like your father, Kevin, your uncles, you know, Pee Wee, and even Jerry, and how he impacted your life. And then Charles. I wanted to fight, bro. I was like, what is that? What is happening? What is wrong with this guy? But like Charles, and who you said hated you. Yeah. Literally, you didn't understand like why he hated you. And
didn't understand.
At times called you, you know, these vulgar names. And so if you could talk a little bit about how these relationships and their influences and how they influence you both positive and negative, and how they ultimately shaped your journey.
When I think about these things, you know, sometimes I think about the relationships that I had with the males in my family. And I think about, you know, it used to be times when I would think I missed out on those things because of the females raising you. You know, it's like, I love my grandmother. I love them. And I love how they, the things they did for me, you know, but they don't teach you how to be a man. They don't give you the things, you know. I just put my father's picture up. I'll never forget on Father's Day because I hated him. I just hated this man and everything he did. But then I thought about it. You know what? If he hadn't have done it, I wouldn't be here. Let's start there. Secondly, he did it. I did.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing for me to hold on to with this guy who's in his grave, who I'm trying to live a life, and I couldn't have good relationships. I was worried about this, and I didn't know why I felt certain ways. And I thought, I find myself looking and searching for this. So I was questioning everything about myself because I thought, is this why I think this? Is this why I feel this way? Is this? Then I thought, you know what? I'm exactly what I need to be. There's no way that God did all of this other stuff and then through all these other little mistakes.
Yeah.
I said, I'm gonna live my life with my head up. I didn't do anything to create myself.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything that the males in my family, the things that they did. And I have, instead of waiting around to see, all the males, it seemed like they were crazy. They all had these weird things going on. So I thought I was always sitting around waiting to see what was in my heritage, what was in my bloodline. And then I thought to myself, no, I don't have to choose that. No matter what's in your bloodline, I got the power to change the legacy of what's going on in my family. And that I did. And that I'm doing, and I can see and feel, don't get me wrong. I can see and feel the things that I've inherited. I can see and feel when the things come in my mind that I say, oh, no, I know that, and I mean, just say in the past 10 years, I got to the point where I was just like, I'm happy to be who I am, comfortable 100%. I thought to myself, only in the industry did I ever deal with people that made me say, okay, well, we got to do this. Don't say this. Don't tell this. Don't tell, because I was always this. After all that I've done, I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think. This is because I had to say, if I'm going to survive in this world, if I'm going to survive, because I'm on my own. I left those people at 16 and I never went back. And if I survive, I can't worry about what I think and what y'all think.
Yeah.
I just said, I don't give a fuck what they think. I got to care about just what I think, and I'm going to keep moving like this.
That's it.
So, for years, people see me for years and, wonder things and ask this and ask this. And I just sat back like, I never hid anything. I'm a wide open book. It's just, who am I to tell? What is there to say? My story, I was like, this is my story. Read it. And you take whatever you want to take from that. But when people, you feel like you have to tell your story and tell what happened. And, and I'm like, I felt like I was always apologizing, and then I thought, I'm in the world just like you, just like whoever's on here. We're all in the world. There's nothing that you can say to me to make it okay. Like, I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks or says or I don't need to do that. I don't need acceptance for my story, what I've been through, who I am. Like, that makes no sense to me. After my story, I thought to myself, I don't need to be, nobody needs to be okay with this shit. I had to learn to be okay with it, So when that happened, it made me so much stronger. So much, I'm just kind of like coasting and enjoying myself because I was always just on edge with, thinking, well, was this a mistake? And what do I do? How do I figure this out? And, and you don't have any of that. So on Father's Day, I put my father's picture up. And because I never could. I seen everybody's father's thing, and I never was a victim. I just thought, I felt sorry for him. Then I said, you know what? Thank you for never teaching me how to be a man, because I learned myself. Thank you for never giving me what it took to have the courage to be who I am. Thank you for never teaching me how to treat a woman, because I had to learn myself. And then I looked at my dad and I thought about it, and I said, I felt more sorry for him that through all of this, I'm your only son, was your only son. And you couldn't allow yourself to admit until, much further that, okay, I made this mistake with doing this, but look at this. And if I should say so myself, this is your only son. And you can't say yes to it. I just couldn't, I don't give a fuck whatever I had done.
Yeah.
I'll be like, that right there, I did it.
Right.
And so I felt like you didn't have to, because people across the world, they already did,
That's beautiful, man. So would you say the same thing about Charles, who wasn't your father, Charles was your, I guess he would be considered your cousin, right? Would you say the same thing about him? Because in the book you referenced him as daddy, right? Yeah. What are your emotions around that relationship?
Well, I think that Charles saw, a lot of those people, I realized the way that they were treating me and the way that they were had nothing to do with me. Mm-hmm. It had everything to do with them. Mm-hmm. And I think that I was trying to find the answers to why, but Charles was always fighting something. He was fighting something. It was overwhelming that this man was fighting something. And it's so weird because I look just like these people. Wow. Like the men in my family are all these tall, statuesque men, and they just have this same, and they all love these hats. Like everybody, but they all used to wear them in some way, shape, or form. And it's like, and I inherited so much from them as far as my dad, like the way, I am when I walk into a room and all of that, but Charles was just dealing with something. And sometimes I think that I tell people, while you're trying to figure out why somebody's treating you a certain way, sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do with you. Absolutely. And, and I just thought I'd chalk it up to that. A lot of times we look for closure and all of that. I never need closure from stuff. You don't treat me right. I just, all right, that's it. Yeah. I don't figure out why. There was a saying that said, when a snake bites you, do you go and try to figure out why? Or do you just go and try to heal from what happened? You don't need to know. So with Charles, I got to the point where I realized how he was with everybody, with Mama, with May, with himself, including Dimples and all of them, even his way of thinking. And then you had to think a lot of these people had a third and fourth grade education, and it does have something to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. It does. Just their reasoning. And not to even cover up for them, but a lot of African American people, Black folks, back especially during that time and from the South, these were people who lived like they made it out of some stuff that we've never and will never have to deal with. Yeah, we think now, the police are, they prejudice. No, those fuckers back then would do things to them, my grandmother, all of those people that were in their 80s and 90s and that are going on now that we never have to.
Yeah. That you said a whole lot, specifically about healing. Stop trying to figure out, why somebody hurt you. Just heal. Go on and heal. Stop worrying about that. Stop trying to rationalize or did I do something wrong? What did I do? What did I say? Yeah, he treat me this way. Forget that.
And you didn't do it.
Yeah.
You didn't do it. Like, why? I need to find an answer why you fucked up in my life. I know enough. Trust me. I got enough stuff that I do and I'm trying to figure out and trying not to be like the people that did it. Just trying to be a little bit better and having a heart to be in a different mindset than those people. But however, I'm never going to try to figure out why you did something to me. Yeah. I'll figure it out. I cut people so fast. You want to do this, you want to act that, and you can see it. It's when it's fair and we're trying to work, but it's cool. But at this point in the world, man, there's no reason to be trying to work through shit with people and work on friendship. We just always our friendship, we just trying to figure, no, fuck that. You can do you, I can do me. You want to date, we go out one time, you don't want to call all of this other shit. All right, we cool. Yeah. I'm good. I don't have anybody in my life that I got to struggle to figure out whether we cool or not.
That's a great place to be. Like, you got to struggle to figure out why it is that you're in my life, then
right, including myself. Yeah. If there's something that I feel about someone, it may have nothing to do with you, but at the end of the day, if I'm like, I just don't feel this motherfucker. Yeah, this don't connect with what I want to do when I wake up in the morning. I want to feel this, and I'm trying to be this. And every time this motherfucker walk in the door, he brings this or she brings that. So we gonna do this. Eliminate them. Yeah. Look how the sun just seems to shine. Yeah. We're here for a short period of time. I ain't got time to fight and bullshit with nobody.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Let's talk about just the presence of angels in your life. So I know from personal experience that God sends people in your life at pivotal moments. You're in the right time, the right space, and they give you exactly what you need for that moment or even for your next. And so you reference a few individuals in your book. You spoke earlier about Dimples. Dimples showed up, I think, at a pivotal moment in your life. Sweetie Pie, absolutely,
Sheila's
in your life. And then even, I think of people even as small as that gas station attendant that you referenced. When you were getting ready to
going in the wrong and we could never find it. It's funny. I was just talking to Fred Hammond not like 2 days ago. We were talking about it because we were doing a project together now, and it came full circle. Wow. You know, 25 years later, here we are full circle, and the same thing kind of happened. And I don't want to tell y'all because I'm writing part 2. Okay. And it picked up, you know, and it's going to blow your mind because it started to show all of this other stuff. But what I'll say is, I cannot stress enough that the things that you think you missed out on with family and friends and people, there has not been one thing or one person that I have never needed that wasn't there in a different form. You know, maybe my dad wasn't there. All of these people, Fred Hammond, Tyler Perry, like they were all older brothers or father figures that gave me those things that made me, times when they would get on my nerves, but it was always like, nope, you're not going to be like that. Yeah. You're going to be like this. People that didn't even know me. I was always, my grandmother, I'll never forget her telling me, she was like, you like Forrest Gump. And I was like, what do you mean? May told me this before she passed. So she was like, Terrell, I've never seen someone who's always in the right place at the right time to be a part of some shit he had nothing to do with. And I was like, you mean? She was like, you sang with Whitney Houston the last day she sang on this earth. You know, you played Jussie Smollett's boyfriend on Empire. So you're part of, you know, all of the things that were good or bad. You know, you were Fred Hammond. Then you get with Tyler Perry. You know, the biggest thing in the Black community that was ever doing, you know, what he's doing. You know, I'm a part of that whole situation. I started with Fred Hammond and Kirk Franklin, who had Tamla and David Mann, who I was with them when I was 17. Wow. You know, we all grew up together. I seen them, they was like 25, you know, so, and there's so many other things that I was just so surprised that I'm a part of. So many things, you know, Quincy Jones, being signed to Quincy Jones because of that. Grew up with Stevie J. He was older than I was, but he's from Buffalo. So Stevie J was a part of the whole way that I started working, you know, with him. And then he was writing under P. Diddy, and they were going for Quincy Jones and all that. So just being connected with so many different things. And when I look back to it, I realized I'm like, all of the things that I thought I needed were always there. Yeah. You know, the ones I name in the book are like Sweetie Pie and how she helped me get to the next. But when I think about it, it was all along the way. When people say trust God, when I tell you it's been so great for me that I cannot not trust it and not trust it and have the faith that it's just gonna always be all right.
Absolutely. It's always gonna be all right.
It's always,
you know, everything works according to, I believe, God, the higher power, whoever it is that you believe in. It works according to the plan that is set and established for your life. I'm a firm believer of that. So with the release of Problem Child, what has been the reaction from your family, those that are still alive? I know that many of them have passed on. And so may not have gotten an opportunity to read their story.
Right. That's why I can really let them in, you know, have it, you know, a lot of them, I've gotten one or two things from, you know, one or two people, because I do have a sister, and her and I have mended our relationship, but I didn't mention her really in the book. I just mentioned that Candy had one more child. Yeah. And I didn't go into detail because her and I had a broken relationship, but I even realized that, you know, I was like, as much as I don't fight for relationships, including family members, there was just something that said, one more time. Because I think we don't realize we don't have forever. And there's a saying that says a man is born twice. When he's born and he thinks he has forever, and then something happens when you realize, I start adding them numbers up. Wait a minute. This is not, I got this amount of time left. No matter how many great, wonderful things you want to do, this is where it is now. This is where it is. And so, you know, I thought to myself, I said, how do you feel about that? Okay, I'm gonna go back for this. And I'm glad I did it because, you know, we haven't really got a chance to see each other much, but we talk, and she talked. Like last night, I woke up, I had a weird dream about Mama May, who's also going on right now. Right. And I text my sister and I'm like, I had a nightmare. which is so crazy because I've been living alone for 25 years, just me, doing me. But last night I woke up and had a nightmare, like a weird nightmarish dream. You know, I watch some weird, like, crime shows, true crime shows, and I kind of leave it on. So sometimes that's what it is. But I texted her last night and I said, you know, I had a nightmare. And she was like, yeah, I'm asleep, but I'll call you in the morning. And I remember just sitting like these happy faces. But it was hard for them, you know, for a second, you know, because like I said, it wasn't their truth. It is mine. And then they understood after a while and saw, like, you know, it may not be what you want to hear, but it was actually what I went through.
Absolutely. And we so appreciate you sharing your story, bro. So I got a few questions from the audience. I'm not going to hit them all, but I do want to acknowledge a few questions that came through from our listeners. So first question that came through, Terrell, what was the hardest part about writing Problem Child?
The hardest part about writing Problem Child is that I started reliving some of the things that I had thought I didn't even realize that I was still dealing with. Like even today, I'm like, as I talk about them, I like tear up a little bit, you know, and I don't fight back tears, by the way. Like I'm just stopping here and there. But like for me, I don't mind crying. I don't mind because there's nothing to hold. I don't hold on to shit that I didn't do, especially. And the shit that I did, I don't hold on to. So, you know, the hardest part was being in a coffee shop and writing. And I wrote this book. You know, I had never written a book. I was always kind of good in English and writing and all that. But I wrote this from the way that I think and the way that I talk. And I wrote it from the first person. I took all the stories that they had always told me about the 4th of July, and I put them all together in the way that I know how these people are. I know how they speak. I know how they talk. You know, if you had to write a story about your grandmother, you had to write a sentence of what your mama would say. You could write a conversation between them. So I took all of the things that they told me and I put it all together and all the way that they spoke. And so writing about my dad and looking and seeing through his eyes was the hardest part, because even when I'm writing as this man is molesting my mom, but going in there, I know how crazy this sounds, but I understand. I understand how he didn't want to say nothing. And I didn't want to admit it, but I was like, you are this beautiful man. My father was, if anybody thinks that I'm good looking or attractive, my father was what I would have used to hope to be. When I would look at this man, he was stunning. And like, you do that? And now there's this baby that you got to tell everybody you did it. And you like 21, 22, 23, whatever. And so I'm not saying that he should have did it, but I understood, because we've all done some shit that nobody knows about.
Absolutely.
I didn't do no shit like that, but I've done things that I wouldn't want you to know. And so the hardest part was understanding people when you want to just hate them. You know, and it gave me such an understanding of people now. Like I have people, I don't have to have the same religious beliefs you do. I don't have to believe that you can be prejudiced. I want to hear why. And my friends will be like, Terrell, why do you talk? You always do this. I said, because everybody has a reason to believe and think the way that they do. I can look at you and call you a fool, but if I just listen to you, maybe we can come to an understanding.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Who has been your biggest inspiration in your career and why?
I think that there's my aunt, her name was Amy in the book. You know, she was just my biggest inspiration, because Amy was like Medea. Yeah, and some. There were certain things I didn't even add about her, because she was just, she didn't play. And, you know, I love the fact of somebody that will stand in the middle of 200 people and they don't care what you're saying. They like, I don't care what the hell y'all say. This is this. I don't want to say so they won't know. But that was my biggest inspiration, because I've always been that. You know, people don't realize, I think a lot of times they'll be like, oh, look what he's doing, or he's doing that. I've never done anything but what I wanted to do. If you really pay attention, I've never done anything differently than what I wanted to do. And, you know, a lot of people don't know it. Even when I left Tyler to go out and do other things, and then I started doing Empire, but it was a lot of other things behind the scenes that people didn't know. You know, I always was like, I'm gonna do this. This may not be the right, look smart, because I'm not doing, but that was it. She was my biggest inspiration because I was just always like, there's something else that's got me that I can't explain, that it don't matter what nobody's saying in the room. It can be 200 people, but if I feel like it's going to be something else, and that's what the fuck it is. And so she was my biggest inspiration.
She definitely was a G. When she told the pastor, I don't know what she got going on here, but it was certain moments in the book certainly reminded me of my grandmother as well. So let's shift. I'm gonna let you go in just a moment, but I do this thing with all of my guests called the Kolby Culture Word Wing. And so essentially what it is I'm giving you a word and you tell me how that word applies to either an experience that you've had, your book, or where you are currently.
Okay.
All right. First word, faith.
Faith or faith? Oh, faith. Faith. The way that it means this to me. I tell people all the time, I stopped having so much faith in God and then wavering when it was time to use it. Faith for me means truth. It doesn't mean facts. It means truth. It means everything that I can't see happening. The truth of it is, it's gonna happen, and I'm good. So that's what faith reminds me of.
Love it. Inspiration
to me, when I think of inspiration, it's always the things that nobody knows. It's always the things that you don't think are going to be the thing that you look at and be like, wow, or the person that you don't know. So inspiration, when I look at inspiration and say my story, Candy, my mother, the person who did all of this, who everybody looked at and was like, was retarded, one leg, 11 years old, ain't shit, this, that, and the other. And then look at her. But yet at the same time, she did this.
Yeah. Challenge.
I think challenge is challenge. When I think of challenge, I think of this. Everything it all depends on how you look at it. I can look at this and say this was the biggest challenge in the world, or I can look at it and say, if I hadn't done that, there's nothing that can happen to me, right now that I can't handle. Nothing that can come my way that I can't figure out. So was it a challenge, or was it building my character? So that's what I think of. Success for me. People that say money can't buy you happiness, I'm going to say this. Neither can being broke. Okay. So I was always happier when I could pay the rent and I could fly to, if you broke my heart, I could fly to Miami and go enjoy myself in Tulum. So, but success to me is the connection that I have with people and the happiness that I have while I'm enjoying the things and the fruits of my labor, but with the people that I love the most. Yeah. It's true. I will say I'm cool by myself, but success to me is not just being alone and winning with money. It's the connection with and enjoying this life that was given to me with the people that I love the most and making the money.
Music.
When I think of music, I think of everything that I was built on, not understanding how I even love music so much. Like, love it. Like, I talk to my favorite singer in the world. Of course, everybody knows Karen Clark. I love her so much. When I speak to her, and she just like, we'll be talking about something, and she's like, "You my boy, Terrell," and I'll just be kind of sitting there. And now this has been like 15 years that I've like been like cool with her. And she's just like, I was like, yeah, but you still Karen Clark. So, music to me built something that was just phenomenal to me. I was able to walk on that, and music brings people together like nothing else on this planet. I talk to people now at these festivals I go to, like Coachella and all that I would never talk to. So music to me is a connection with, amongst people that like nothing else there is.
Yeah. Somebody said, sing us something, Terrell.
Father, can you hear me? That's it.
That's what I'm talking about. So last one, purpose.
I think that sometimes you think that for me, purpose means this, and I say this, and this will be what I aimed on. I used to think that my purpose on this planet was to sing and to act and to look hot when I walk across the stage, but my purpose was to go through what it was that I went through, because it brings people to me all the time that I can be out on a date and we can end up and I've had times where we just end up in tears. And it's like, oh my God, I needed that so much. And I'm sitting there like, I didn't, I wanted to, but I realized that my purpose on this planet. It's not that the other stuff. It just draws you to me. And I ain't saying I'm Mary Poppins, like I'm the best, this, that, and the other, because I love to do some crazy shit and have a great time. But at the same time, I didn't choose this. So, but I do choose to wrap that call around, to wrap my arms around that call and to do what it is that I'm supposed to do and to have a really good time doing it.
Yeah. I feel like that's what life is about. Not just, living your life, living from these experiences, but enjoying yourself. Yeah. Like, I think take life too seriously. I think we just got to relax and really enjoy this experience.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks so much for taking time to chat with me today. Tell us what's next for you, how we can stay in contact with you.
Yes.
All of the things.
Everybody, I can look out. I'm back working with Tyler Perry again on a new Tyler Perry show, his first Netflix show. I'm going to tell you, you think it's like nothing else he's done. It's coming out this year. It's called Beauty in Black. I'm one of the main characters, and it is something good. And I'm not saying it just because I'm there. I told him, I said, dude, you just kind of went crazy. He was like, this is my first Netflix show. And I know what everybody's thinking, but wait till they see this. So come watch this. It's Beauty in Black. I'm doing another album right now, but this is the album of the albums for me. I'm coming with it. I'm coming with all my favors and going and getting some amazing producers that I'm working with. And I'm coming with some songs that y'all want to hear. I've done a lot of like house stuff just recently because I was working and I do a lot of festivals and stuff. So I've been working that. And people are like, when are you going to do some music? I'm like, I've been really kind of doing it, but I've been doing the Coachellas and stuff. But I'm coming back with some good R&B, some good soulful music. And I'm doing that. And you can see me on everything is Terrell music. And yeah, I'm ready. Y'all gonna see me. I'm doing a lot more dates and gigs. I've just been doing the TV shows and stuff. So I haven't been doing a lot of, traveling and singing loud, but I'm getting ready to get back into everything that I've been, I hadn't been, that was built on. Mm-hmm. So get ready for it. I still got it.
Yeah.
I still got it, y'all. I still got it.
Ready for you, brother. Those of you, again, that are just joining, I'm chatting with Terrell Carter. Make sure you go out and grab his book, Problem Child. This is his debut book. There's a part 2 I heard that's coming pretty soon. So super excited about that. Again, thank you so much for your time tonight. It's been a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you all for joining. As always, catch us next week live on all streaming platforms at Kolby Kulture Show for next week's episode of the Kolby Kulture. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to follow the show wherever you listen to your podcast. Watch and subscribe on YouTube, and please feel free to give us a 5-star rating. See you on the next one.